What's the word, YouTube? It's your boy Big Will, back with another episode, Life After Prison. And this video, it's just going to be a short one, but this actually has nothing to do with me being in prison or any of the things that I have done or been through personally. This video is sort of a public service announcement, okay? Yesterday I got some tragic news that my nephew has died. He's 25 years old. And this is for all you kids out there. You know, he was a 25-year-old young man, had a job, you know, living his life, but he had no parents. His father was my brother, okay, who passed away 4 years ago from an overdose. Now, with that being said, 2 years prior to that, my brother's wife, which is my nephew's mother, she also passed away from an overdose, okay? Accidental in case of my sister-in-law. Such as with my brother, we tend to want to say accidental, but truth be told, my brother was really lost when his wife died. You know, there was many times that he tried to kill himself, you know, and I believe, you know, overdosing was the easiest way for him to, I guess, go out, if you want to say it that way, right? He, you know, he didn't want to kill himself. He didn't want to shoot himself in the head. He didn't want people to find him like that, right? And, you know, we still want to say it might have been accidental with my brother, right? But facts are, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, there was times when he tried to kill himself. He told me, you know, hey, I done so much of opiates and you know, mixing with pills, and I'm still waking up. And, you know, he had expressed his, you know, deepest and darkest desires not to live anymore because of his wife passed. You know, he was really lost. They spent almost 22 years or something together before she passed away. You know, they had one child, which was my nephew, and you know, so he was left to be on his own, so to speak. You know what I mean? And he was lost. He struggled with not having his mother and father here. You know what I'm saying? And to be 21 years old, a young kid, and you know, 2 years just earlier, just losing your mother, and then watching your father fall apart, you know, for the next 4 years until he dies. It's hard for a kid, especially a young kid, 21 years old, who really, you know, is just coming into his own. He's not sure about life. And the thing with today is, like, this world changes so fast. You know what I'm saying? I'm 51 years old, right? And the thing is this: 30, 40 years ago, the world was much different, right? So when I was a kid or a teenager, 30 years prior to that, you know, it was different for me as a kid, right? So before, you know, life before me it evolved. You know what I'm saying? So we had to deal with, you know, times that had changed, the drugs that came into our world. You know what I'm saying? You figure the 60s and 70s, it was weed. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Until you know, they introduced heroin to the soldiers and stuff. In the wars, you know, like, them drugs weren't used. You know what I'm saying? And then cocaine got introduced, and, you know, people thought it was just, you know, it was the best thing around because they had so much fun and energy, and not knowing really what drugs do to you. Most of you people know on my channel that I was a drug addict, a drug dealer for many years. You know what I mean? And I've seen them streets. I lived in them streets. My brother, God rest his soul, he's seen them streets. He lived in the streets. He was also a drug dealer, a drug addict. This, and he paid his price. You know what I'm saying? These drugs will get you to two places, people. You might have a short little fun time with it, and it might make you numb and forget your problems, but they're there. Once that drug wears off, that problem is still sitting there waiting for you, right? The two ultimate places are death or prison, okay? And if you go to prison and you don't straighten up like I did in 2016, the only other place for you is death, okay? With that being said, today's kids, they don't know what they're even getting when they take drugs, okay? So my nephew, like I said, he was 25 years old. He was not a drug addict. With that being said, he liked to smoke weed. Yes, he did, right? Which is the case with all kids nowadays. Most kids, you know what I'm saying? I have two teenage daughters. I have a 31-year-old daughter. And I have a 10-year-old son, right? But my daughters are 19 and 18. I have a 19-year-old stepson. They're not into drugs. They don't smoke weed, right? My 31-year-old daughter, she don't smoke weed. She'll have a drink when she goes out with her friends. My teenage daughters, they're still too young for alcohol, but they're not. They're in college, right? They're knock on wood, and God bless me, they're a different breed than me, right? So, with that being said, there's a little less worry I have, but the thing is this: it's always that one party or one time in life where someone's going to offer them a pill or something, and today they just don't know what they're making it with. They'll call a Percocet a pill, but a Percocet comes from a pharmacy. A Percocet is not some 22, 25-year-old kid mixing something up in his cellar, trying to be a fake chemist and introducing it to the streets. That's not a Percocet, okay? It's a fake pill, but they'll give it a name, and they'll call it Percocet because Percocet is somewhat safe if you use it responsibly from a pharmacist, if you use it for what it's used for, right? But these kids nowadays, they're taking things that they have no idea what they're putting in, and they're mixing so many things into it. You know what I mean? Such was the case for my nephew. He was, like I said, he had a great job. He dealt with troubled adolescent kids, and he had many chances to cop out in life. Losing both of his parents, but he didn't. He chose to fight on life. You know what I'm saying? And he had to deal with his own problems, like I said, to not have any parents to talk to. You know what I'm saying? My father was never there in my life, right? So he's not someone that I could ever turn to. You know what I'm saying? Myself and my brother, we raised our kids differently. You know what I'm saying? We were there for our children because we didn't have that father. You know what I'm saying? So for us, we made sure we were there for our children, right? Once my nephew was at a young age and his mother passed away, then he had to deal with his father not being able to handle his life. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, sadly enough, my nephew was on his own at a young age. Even though his father was there, he wasn't there mentally, right? With that being said, he chose my nephew to push on, and he never tried to end his life. And he expressed his sadness to many people and struggled with his own demons, but he was not a drug addict, right? And he liked to indulge in how do you want to say, I guess, responsibly partying, I want to say, right? He liked on his weekends, or he liked to smoke his weed. You know what I'm saying? Have a couple of drinks. That's the way the kid lived, right? But he was totally against drugs, seeing that he lost both of his parents. Now it was a shock to us to find out that he overdosed, right? Because he was so against opiates and drugs, and with that being said, maybe he needed opiates or drugs to turn to deal with his pain, to cope with his loss, his having no parents. Like I said, I'm 51 years old, and I can still pick up the phone every day and call my mother if I have an issue, if I need to speak to my mother, if I just want to hear her voice. And for a young kid not to be able to experience that, it's sad. And they so many kids nowadays struggle with that shit, So it's it's just it's a reminder to us daily that kids out there, or people out there, not even necessarily kids, they're adults that are making these combinations of narcotics, that they're just throwing anything in there, rat poison, and they're mixing fentanyl and everything with cocaine and other opiates, and they're mixing benzos they're mixing benzos and fentanyl and all kind of stuff together, and different horse tranquilizers and animal tranquilizers, and they're calling it heroin, which it's not. You know what I'm saying? And the fact is that these kids nowadays just do not know what they're getting and putting into their mouth. So that being said, if any of you have kids out there, if you're a kid and you happen to come across this video and see it, please, 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 choose a different path besides drug use. If you're going to drink alcohol, if you're old enough, do it responsibly. Don't drink and drive. Party responsibly, and if you can do it in the safety of your own home, do it there. But with these drugs out here, you never know what you're putting into your body, and the fact is that we're not promised tomorrow, okay? The only promise we have in life is death. That is the only thing in life that we are promised, is death. Tomorrow is not promised. Our next meal is not promised. Financial freedom is not promised. Nothing in life is promised except for death, right? And the fact is that we never know when it's our time. And when you're too young to experience life and see it, it's such a shame and tragedy to have to die, and your loved ones deal with it. That being said, we have some family issues to deal with for the next week or so. Funerals, and just letting my nephew go to be with his mother and father, and we have our own things, but we also have families and responsibilities that we have to deal with, But if you're out there and you're a kid or an adult and you're struggling with, addiction, reach out and get help before it's too late. Turn your life around. Talk to a loved one, before it's your time. There's so much more living in life than to throw it all away for drug use. You know what I'm saying? And I don't judge people because I've been there, but I can tell you it's much better to live life clean and wake up every day, and not struggle, and not know how I'm gonna get my next fix and do the things that I used to do to get high. You know what I'm saying? A sober life is, the high is much better. When people say it's boredom, there's so many things that you do before you've gotten into drug use that you can do again when you're sober. When you become an addict, your life is so much more miserable. You know what I'm saying? And for that 10-minute gratification, 20-minute gratification high, it's just not worth it. With that being said, I appreciate you all. Like and subscribe, please. And choose life wisely. It's your boy Big Will, Life After Prison. See you on the next one. Peace.